Okay, let's have it out then. What's happening, YouTube? Why does IGN want to run this game into the ground? Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has been out for a New York minute now, and it's getting a lot of controversy, hate, and the Kevin Conroy thing? Man, I ain't never seen nothing like this before. There's even been a death in the family over this game, and my condolences to the Rocksteady family. But it sounds like to me, single player gamers have spoken. I don't know about you, but I'm just here to have fun. This is arguably one of the most fun looter shooters out here. Let me show you why. Let's talk about what kind of game this is. This is a looter shooter, and when I hear looter shooter, the most thing I'm interested in is the traversal and the sandbox. Me personally, when I hear sandbox and traversal, I think about games like the new Spider-Man 2, the Infamous series, and even GTA 5 to name the ones that I feel that have done it best. These sandboxes have great traversal. You know, you could be web slinging around the city. It could be a smooth driving simulation, changing from one character to the next seamlessly, and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has exactly that. The world is populated with main missions, collectibles from the Riddler similar to that of Arkham Knight, and side missions as well. And Metropolis may be under siege by Brainiac, but wow, it looks vast. It's dense, with tall buildings and all the DC comic book eye candy a fan could hope for. You can zip around with the four main characters' traversal moveset with ease, switch between them at will like GTA 5, and go to all of these buildings and take in the skyline anytime you want. I can't think of a time a DC fan has even had a full-on Metropolis like this to traverse through, other than probably DC Universe Online, but we won't get into how bad the jetpack was on that game. It's tragic. You can choose between Harlequin, who is a grapple hook, essentially the same traversal as in Arkham Knight if you played that game before. It's a little bit sleeker, lots of acrobatics with Harley, and diving into Spider-Man-esque grapple hook type gameplay thanks to the Batdrome. Next up you got Captain Boomerang. Yeah, Captain Boomerang is quite fun. He has the Speed Force gauntlet. Although he doesn't have the full Speed Force, he has a cool and intricate traversal mechanic with the boomerang. Feels like he's doing a lot of instant transmission, but if you look closely, you'll see him run and catch the boomerang at quite a fast speed. You've also got King Shark. To be honest, he's just doing up Hulk smash all the time. Crazy leaping distance, as you can see. I'm not that great with him personally. I retired from being a meathead, so I don't play him a lot. But I'm gonna have to for the Platinum Trophy. Deadshot is my favourite. A revival of the jetpack in comparison to DC Universe Online. It's got excellent mobility, hovering around, shooting goons, then dumping fuel and igniting off somewhere else. Some would say Anthem, but I steered kinda clear that Voldemort, so I can't relate. Anyway, what's not to like? Full on sandbox, your own DC playground, zip around, attack Brainiac's goons, complete missions and stop bad guys as bad guys. With your clan, friends or randoms, there's fun to be had here. I certainly enjoyed it as I geared myself up to kill the Justice League. Alright people, let's get into the story, the combat and the gameplay loop. What I want to tell you without spoiling anything is prepare to be part of some well choreographed, cinematic movie-like cutscenes and screenplay within this story. There was experience in the voice acting with Kevin Conroy as Batman, Deborah Wilson voices Amanda Waller and keeps the same likeness as she did in prior roles in Jedi Survivor. In a nutshell, for the story, Waller picks you guys up from Arkham and she forces you to be her nuclear deterrent against a full-scale invasion from Brainiac. Please note that this is a world-breaking event. I could compare this to Thanos or Galactus coming to New York, except you are playing with already over 90% of the population being wiped out. There's no one left but you guys. The Justice League is nowhere to protect the Earth, and this is where Task Force X comes in. Don't get me wrong, the story is pretty short, probably has a runtime of 10, maybe 12 hours to complete the main story campaign without any side missions. But for games of this genre, you usually rely on the mechanics or the gameplay to make it good. And I feel the pacing was accurate and the runtime of the story was spot on for maintaining this high level of consistency within the screenplay. Combat may not be for everyone. I mean, it's a looter shooter. When you hear looter shooter, the games that should come to mind should be like Destiny 1 and 2, which I got the platinum on them both, of course, or the Borderlands series, and maybe the Division. These are probably some of the games that have done it best in my opinion. Shooting is crisp. You've got to get critical hits for more damage, which are headshots or weak spots like most looter shooters. There's some decent melee options unique to each character, which can be build centered. You always have to do things like get leg shots or counter shots to trigger a mechanic called shield harvesting in order to regen shield, because these guys are only human. They've got very minimal health. Well, I mean human, well, look at King Shark, I guess. But they don't really have superpowers, technically, is where I'm getting at. There is pretty interesting skill trees, which they call talents on this game. We'll get into that shortly, but overall, combat is not that challenging to execute. There's a lot of fun to be had here. There's a super move, or they call it a traversal attack, and there's also takedown moves as well, which are unique to each character. The gunplay overall is satisfying. As far as a looter shooter goes, arguably more satisfying than the Borderlands series, due to needing to hit critical counters for certain traits to activate, and an emphasis on leg shots to build up your shield, make it so that even though the combat is pretty easy to grasp for a newcomer, mastering it to survive the endgame content and actually progressing into higher difficulties is another story for you hip fire button smashers. Some shots require some finesse in this game. In my opinion, when mastered and activating skills from your gear and talent tree in conjunctions with the combo meter, the gameplay loop becomes very satisfying. The satisfaction of the combo meter feels similar to Devil May Cry and getting the S rank, or if you know about it, performing the master combo on DC Universe Online before the weapon patch. I don't know, single player gamers, help me to see what you see. I know I see great traversal, satisfying gameplay loop, have a very well acted Jon Stewart, thank God, and get to zip around a well designed metropolis. I'm not sure what there is not to like. Okay, maybe there is some tedious things. Well, they're not really tedious. There's a lot of bugs. There's a lot of bugs and glitches. There's some treacherous bugs actually. But of course there's bugs. What game doesn't have bugs anymore at launch? We've all seen Cyberpunk. It took them about 2 or 3 years to recover, mate. It's hard out here for a pimp. I'm not upset or angry at the bugs though. It's more like I'm recovering from a divorce and lost 50%. Yeah, that's it. That's definitely it, because I lost 50% of my progress 3 times now. I just lost like 4 or 5 levels last night. I'm still crafting gear and editing loadouts in the endgame. The bugs are not like game breaking, although it is saddening every time I join my friend's world or session. I have to re-edit my control scheme. That's quite tedious. I haven't enjoyed that. But I'm not going to go into the bugs in detail due to the pain that they've caused me for the most part. But I'm kind of in my Tokyo Ghoul phase with this game right now, and all that trauma is just rear view, as I'm deep in the end game, looking forward to the Joker DLC, which is allegedly being released in March. Moving on from that, let's talk about the skill tree and a little bit about the end game. The skill tree is called a talent tree, I believe. I'm not gonna lie, some of the talents have been reused across the characters in terms of what the skill actually does, be it increased melee damage, firearm damage, or shield harvest buffs. Nonetheless, the characters activate them with different combat options, so there's still decent variety. It's not the most advanced skill tree we've had in comparison to other titles out there. I mean, you're not going to get Path of Exile skill tree in this genre, with hundreds and hundreds of options to go through. But there is flexibility and a couple of options for different playstyles. And there's even an endgame skill tree. Consider it similar to Paragon ranks in Diablo 3, where you can earn squad stat bonuses shared by all the characters in the roster. Some characters like King Shark and Harley have some tank-like melee options. you can get some serious builds in there with those guys. I think they'll allow you to do additional shield harvesting, or you can get like something silly like 300% additional melee damage. When you stack that up with different shields and, you know, different trinkets, I think it's called like a neck bracelet or something like that. You could even get additional 600%. It's crazy some of the buffs that you can get. Then you have Deadshot, who will have a lot of critical hit and range based buff options. But regardless of how you spec your talents, I guess, you'll be able to customize a build for how you play. All characters can deal decent melee damage and range damage, be it 25 meters away or 5 meters up close and around you. There's AoE damage, you know, afflictions, which are basically status effects. There's a variety of weapons as well, I forgot to mention. You've got like your standard loot mechanic, you know, like uncommon, rare, epic, legendary. But then you have villain gear and weapons, and also something called infamy gear. You can get infamy weapons as well. They all give set bonuses and villain synergy bonuses, which are stacked when you combine them. In a nutshell, you kind of just got to look at the build, you know, how you want to play or whatever, customize it to your liking. It's important you cross-reference those things with your talent tree as well, so you can optimize your damage output for the way that you want to play. If it's range damage, sniping, melee damage up close, shotguns, there's a lot of things in the talent tree that will help you do more damage if that's the way that you want to play. If you're not a comprehensive reader, it's okay, because the game's generous enough to let you respec your talents as often as your mind changes. I've never played a game of this genre that's so generous in how much you can respec things or re-roll stat bonuses on weapons or gear and things like that. If you want my recommendations, let me know in the comments. That brings me to one of the final points I wanted to share with you guys, or shed some light on if I can. A passing of one of the engineers, so my condolences. There was a death in the Rocksteady family in the build up to the release of this game. My condolences go out to Matthew White and his family and loved ones. I'm grateful for the finished product that inevitably came out, and will be adding the platinum trophy for this game to my collection in commemoration for sure. I do believe there is a memorial somewhere in Metropolis, which I'm yet to find, so if anyone watching this video has found it, feel free to talk about that in the comments. I'm sure a lot of people, or those who don't know or those that do know, would like to go to the memorial and pay their respects in their own way, because it's a fantastic game. It's got a lot of shortcomings in opinions of others, but overall, for the most part, as far as a looter shooter goes, this is a quality product, I'd say, in my opinion. But that's enough for today, I think. Heroes and villains. Kill the Justice League has ticked a lot of the boxes for a good looter shooter for me, and there is too much to talk about, to be honest. I'm running back-to-back incursions right now. I'm just trying to level up my mastery ranks and unlock all of the Bane Infamy gear. This is all endgame stuff, to be honest. There's a lot of gear sets and villain gear stuff like Hugo Strange neck bracelets, Lex Luthor shield gear sets. There's a Black Mask Infamy sniper rifle that reacts to Bane gear sets and adds gear set buffs. Gear sets. It feels like I'm playing Diablo. It's a game as a service, so that means potentially more DC fanboy content, Suicide Squad characters to be added to the roster, such as the Joker. Hopefully we can get more different characters. Maybe we could get a Deathstroke, maybe a little Slade Wilson. It's possible. Jokes were made in there during the story. The Joker's already been announced for March. I can't imagine what his traversal options are going to play like. I've seen some clips of him doing a madness on an umbrella. I would like to see what the skill tree is like. There's a lot of irony, just to close off, there's a lot of irony in the backlash of this game, I think. I imagine the people trying to be as negative as possible about it consider themselves heroes. As the game title says, we are killing the Justice League. Maybe Brainiac got to the reviewers before the game was even released, if you ponder the question what if. But for now, love to all my villains. Reach out to me on my socials and let's squad up in some endgame fun. Keyboard Warriors, I'll see you in the comments. Ciao.